Advocacy for Global Health, United Nations, UNA, One.org, all those organizations. So I am very active in the political process. One of the things I want to start with is sort of idea of what democracy is. And I think some of us think democracy in voting is like a one and done kind of thing. And it's actually an ongoing process, and it's really never done per se. That's good because we can course correct. So we always have a chance every 2 years to change a system. It doesn't turn out the way we want every time. That's not always a bad thing, although it might feel like a really bad thing a lot of the time. But I want to give you a little idea about this. 2016, a lot of us didn't get what we wanted. And that spurred a lot of people who weren't in politics per se to action. And you might know some of their names or their initials: AOC, Underwood. These are all representatives, by the way. Representative Underwood, Omar, Presley, Tlaib, Cordon, and Davids. They made up the highest number of women running and winning for office in 2018. So they spurred a movement. They decided to go into politics, and only a few of them were lawyers. Some of them were nurses, some of them were community activists. So it wasn't like they were on that upward trajectory to be in politics, right? But they said, you know what? This didn't turn out how I wanted. I'm going to be part of the change. I'm going to be part of the system. And that meant we had 117 women in the House and the Senate, which is the most ever. And we had 37 new members. Okay, so you can change the system by being part of the system and being engaged in the system. And out of those numbers, we had 45 women of color who ran and won. So no one is excluded. You don't need a special trajectory to get there. You just have to believe in democracy, see your role as a course correction if you don't get what you want, and be engaged. But again, it's a continual process and it's never done, okay? And I'm sure you're gonna hear that from both of our guests who have got a storied and wonderful career about education and change. The first guest is Catherine Makadidis, the Greek sounding one. Sorry about it, Catherine. She's the Executive Vice President of the League of Women Voters. She has the leader of the League Southside unit. She's been an organizer. She's done very active voter registration, voter services. She's done numbers of forums to educate people, because that's one of the things people say, I don't know when I should vote. I don't know anything about it, right? And there are many ways to understand and get that information. Our second person is Professor Bethany Barrett. Some of you know because you've taken classes with her. She's a colleague of mine. She's the director of the Joseph, I always say this wrong, Laundrie.
Loundy. There's not an R, it's Loundy. Yeah, you're good.
Human Rights Project. She has been a community partnership for change in the environment and human rights and prison reform. I remember way back when I first met her, she was doing that kind of stuff. She's written lots of books and done lots of articles on it. She's also part of the change, not just here, but in other global partnerships. So as you can see, long and storied career for both of them, activists for both of them. I do want to give a shout out to all my students who were in my public health class, because the United Nations just sent me an email saying that they saw a surge of people reaching out to their congressperson and their senators, and they really, really admire that our students are getting involved in trying to get immunizations for everybody, no matter where they live, including the COVID-19 vaccine when it does come to fruition. So our students and our participants all have a role in change. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn it over to Catherine, and she's going to give you some sort of here's how you do it information. And then we're going to sort of talk about women and social justice with Professor Barrett also. So take it, Catherine.
Great. I'm going to share my screen so that we can go through this quickly so we can get to as much good stuff today as possible. Okay, everybody see that okay? It's centered properly? Good, excellent. All right, and before I start, I am going to paste a whole lot of URLs into chat, all right? So you see there's this big, long list, and I know that some people might come late, so remind me at the end, because if you come late, you can't get to the earlier chat. Remind me when I finish to repaste it again into chat, okay? Okay.
question that the organizers wanted us to get into, or if there's questions and answers.
You know, I want to make a point about what Bethany has said, that we're also seeing now more, since more and more women are getting elected, we're seeing successful platforms being held, right? So like Biden wasn't about for green energy. AOC and the group I referred to of people that got elected in 2018 were able to move that needle. So now it's something that he talks about, right? So younger people, people with different lived experiences can impact both parties if the parties will let them. Also, during COVID, we've seen the most successful response to COVID has been female leaders who are listening to their electorate. They're being honest with them. They have a different source and a way of communicating hard things people have to do, and they've been incredibly successful. So if we want democracies to work, we need more women to be part of it. And we also need more voices. So not just the same women, right?
Yes.
So, and women care about the collective usually versus men that might care about the individual concerns that they have. So by those things, we're going to get different outcomes. But if we don't get more people running,
yes,
better outcomes.
Professor Downey, can I just add on, like, one that's such a good point and so important, and one of the things that I really didn't have time to talk about was this really hopeful thing that's happened, where not only have more women been running, and in the last election cycle it was more Democratic women, but it's been more Republican women as well in record numbers, but it's also women that are unapologetic about being women and about saying, I have these concerns based on my positionality as a woman. And for a very long time, women were told to not talk about their family roles, not talk about their concerns, to try to seem older and tougher than they actually were, because that was how they thought they could appeal. And you see women now that are running and being unapologetic about the fact that they're young, that they have families, that they have student debt. And that is making them more authentically connected to their potential constituency. So I think that's what you said is just so important on that front.
And they're not dressing all the same, as we've seen with Kamala. They're dressing to, and AOC and Presley, who again, these are all new players. Their background is not lawyered that trajectory up. So I want to really stress that when all of our students are out there voting, and our staff and our faculty, think about putting your name on that ballot. These people did not have, they were not an in with the party, and they went out there, they didn't like what happened. And again, democracy is, you can course correct, but you got to be part of the process, and voting is the first step, but you can do more. And I'm sure Catherine's seen a lot more women who are coming and saying, how do I get elected? How do I get started, right?